Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for another edition of Reporter's Notebook. For those of you who've never tuned in to watch Reporter's Notebook before, it's one of my personal favorite segments where sort of towards the end of our days, we get to pull in some of our coworkers in here to the digital studio and kind of break down, what it's like to work in a newsroom, go behind the scenes into those stories that we cover for you guys each and every day. So today I am joined in the studio by Miss Victoria Holmes.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, excuse me. Hello.
You got a little cat in your throat or something like that?
No, it's the allergies. I'm telling you, it's ever since last week, I've been just going through a continuous allergy attack.
Oh, no. I feel like everyone over the past week, everybody's getting a cold or something because this weather is flip-flopping all over the place.
And also just, I don't even know what it is, but it's just everything kind of just it's just up here. And I'm just my goodness. It's making me but the weather is getting nice. So that is something to look forward to.
Exactly. We've been talking about planning a beach trip already this weekend. So hopefully that plans out. It stays a little warm for the weekend.
I hope so too, yeah, because I've been missing the beach.
I know. I need to get out there. I need to start enjoying the sunshine and stop being such a homebody stuck inside all the time. So today is the second release date for your series that you're doing. So I'm going to let you go ahead and tell us what the title of your series is and what it dives into. So
the series is called Silent Not Gone, and it's just looking into the opioid epidemic pretty much since the pandemic happened. We're about a year into what's been going on with the pandemic, with shutdown. We're starting to reopen. The state of North Carolina did a pretty good job in a lot of the action items that they're doing to keep overdoses and numbers down and saving lives. But unfortunately, with the pandemic, a lot of people were cooped inside, and when you're cooped inside and you don't have that human connection and you don't have those same resources that kind of helped you in person, then that can be super detrimental. And what we've seen, these aren't reports that have been officially published because it takes a couple of years to kind of gather the data and see what we're looking at. But there have been some preliminary CDC reports about the increase in overdoses, the increase in deaths, and especially an increase in fentanyl usage, which is something that isn't necessarily what people are seeking. They're seeking, from what I can see, or from what I've been reporting on and trying to uncover, is that people are just seeking a high or an escape, but fentanyl is being mixed in with a lot of these opioids to give people a greater high. But fentanyl's so deadly that just a few grains, like one of the people that we talked to in this week's report, and the one that airs today, is a forensic drug chemist. And that was kind of someone we stumbled upon. We were going to the evidence room at Pitt County Detention Center, and the forensic chemist just happened to be there. And so I asked her, I was like, hey, so can we talk about what you do? Because what you do is pretty cool. When are you ever going to meet a forensic drug chemist?
Yeah.
So I just asked her, I was like, do you mind being on camera? Can we talk a little bit about what you do? And she went through the process. And she says what she's been seeing is a rise in fentanyl. And then she said a penny is this big. A few grains of fentanyl compared to that penny is deadly.
Wow.
And so it's just been incredibly eye-opening, seeing things from kind of a first-person perspective. And that's why I love being a journalist, is because I get to dive deeper into these stories. So if you want to see I'm touching everything. If you want to see it, it's the second episode airs today. There's 2 more episodes. We already pretty much filmed all of them, but kind of going through each one each week, giving it its due diligence, making sure that I'm trying to put into perspective something that was completely over my head until I started diving deeper into what's going on.
Yeah. And so today, one of the people that you're talking to, or the person that you talked to for today's episode, was Sergeant Lee Darnell with the Pitt County Sheriff's Office. So what was the aspect you got from him, about this crisis? How is law enforcement seeing this fold out, and how are they trying to combat this crisis?
Right. So there is they're still enforcing the law. I don't want anyone to get any sort of mistake about they're being lenient about drug offenders. There's still a crime occurring, so they're having to enforce those criminal actions, or not enforce those criminal actions, but they're having to enforce the law. and doing drugs is against the law. But at the same time, there is this other element in addition to the enforcement element that goes with understanding that this is also a human being that is going through a lot. And so there's also programs to help people in recovery or offer them a little bit of those resources that weren't available before, kind of just being in partnership with the state and this Health and Human Service Department of Health and Human Services, and having that partnership also kind of be available to a lot of the people who are overdosing and who are going through the system. It's there's something that Sergeant Darnell said very eloquently that would probably explain better than what I'm saying right now, is that it's to kind of like stop the revolving door. And so that understand, like, yes, there is a crime happening, but at the same time, let's prevent it from happening again. And the way you do that is by understanding that addiction is a disease and offer programs so that people can combat this disease.
Wow, definitely. And, what was kind of the inspiration behind you wanting to do this 4-part series? I mean, you're really going deep in diving into this crisis. So what inspired you to want to make a 4-part series out of this, make it a series that, really is going to grab people's attention? And it's kind of, a short like Netflix series that you can really tune into, and kind of, each episode is focusing on a different aspect, a different angle of that crisis. So how did you come up with that kind of concept for this?
So the concept came up from, there was about a month where we had a barrage of news releases, if not every day, at least every other day, a drug arrest, a person dying from having an overdose, or just being in having some sort of email or some sort of Facebook post that was in this area in Eastern North Carolina, where it made me open my eyes, like, oh, this is an issue. And then looking at the statistics and the figures and being like, oh, this is an issue and these are the numbers, and then trying to understand, okay, well, when I did look at the numbers, so the first step was getting emails saying like overdose or drug arrest or this or that, okay? The second step was looking at the figures, figures, the numbers, statistics of drug overdoses, what's been going on, and you saw in the state of North Carolina a steady decline, and it turns out that there are a couple of resources more powerful. NC.org is one of them. People, of these numbers going down, of the overdoses going down and drug use going down, and then with the pandemic, now in the preliminary reports at least, we're seeing all that hard work kind of just go back up. And that's something that is very, very sad to see and very sad to uncover, but we have to, it exists.
Right.
And so now I'm trying to understand, okay, so it exists. It's something that I want to look at from different aspects of people who are involved in this crisis, because there are more than just the user who's involved in this crisis. It's healthcare workers, it's law enforcement, it's everyday people like you. Like, I'm involved in it either directly or indirectly, just from the fact that I'm a part of the same society that has this issue. And so I just want to uncover it a bit more about what's causing the issue.
Definitely. Well, I think this is super awesome that this is, a series you've really been diving into. I think it's going to be super informative for so many of our viewers, especially because this crisis is happening right here in Eastern North Carolina. This isn't far away. This is right here at home. So, having these resources, having these tools available to you through the work and through the research that Victoria is doing, I hope is, going to benefit a lot of people in this area to, find safety and resources and all that kind of stuff. So thank you, Victoria, for covering this topic. I think it's so fascinating, and you're doing such a great job, diving into these aspects and these angles. So like we said, the first episode that was released kind of dives into talking with a paramedic and EMT. And then this episode is going to be diving more into the law enforcement aspect of that. So Victoria, what's kind of a sneak peek for what people can expect for our next week's release?
Next week's release, we talk with a Carteret County Sheriff and a District Attorney. So this week we do talk with law enforcement, but we go kind of more, we talk to law enforcement, we talk to Sergeant Darnell, and we also talk to forensic chemist. So it's more into like the evidence, like what are the trends, what have we been seeing. So that's more kind of like how drugs go from the streets into evidence. That's the line I've been using about this episode. Now the next one is how law enforcement's attitude has changed over the years from it just being enforcement to kind of a little bit more of what Carteret County, they call themselves a recovery county. So that's what we're good at. What does it mean to be a recovery county? How do you build up that kind of trust with law enforcement and with drug offenders, and does that trust even exist? And just kind of diving a little bit deeper into what does it mean to go from being an offender to being into rehab and recovery, and does that actually exist? And so next week we'll dive deeper into that with the Carteret County Sheriff and the District Attorney.
Wow. Thank you so much, Victoria, for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the graphic right here for her series, Silent Not Gone, North Carolina's Opioid Epidemic. Like I said, that's already up on WNCT.com under online originals. You can check out those first 2 episodes. There are still 2 more to be released, so be sure to be staying tuned for those releases. And thank you so much, Victoria, for joining us for this Reporter's Notebook. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your Monday. Thanks so much.